A very good evening to you, and as always, thank you so much for choosing us to inform you on this edition of TV47 News Tonight. You're just in time for the latest in the world of news, sports and business. But first, here are stories that made it to the top 3 tonight. Ahead on TV47 News Tonight. Observers are warning that a crackdown by the Anti-Counterfeit Authority on China Square could potentially lead to a diplomatic dispute between Kenya and China.
Then you'll be left with your small companies. Then you'll own SMEs. So can Kenya survive only on SMEs?
Also ahead, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki ranked as the best performing cabinet secretary by a survey.
The first ranked cabinet secretary with perceived performance is Professor Kindiki Kithure.
The poll also reveals that 62% of Kenyans believe that the country is headed in the wrong direction. Plus, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has requested access to the wealth declaration forms that former Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i submitted when he assumed the role of Cabinet Secretary in 2013. That's right, TV47 News Tonight on this 28th day of February. The last day of February of the year 2023 begins right now. A very good evening to you and welcome aboard. My name is Kenneth Kazungu. Rhoda Mwende Nyamai will be handling the sign language interpretation. Now, hundreds of small-scale traders flocked the Nairobi CBD early Tuesday to protest against what they term as invasion of the market by foreign traders. According to observers, the move by the government to shut down the Chinese retail shop and further edge out foreign investors could dent Kenya's diplomatic relationship with other foreign countries. And as Andrin Kilemi now tells us, there is need for proper and working business policies to prevent such disputes in future.
Tuesday at the Nairobi Central Business District, traders from Kamukunji, Isli, Ludhuli, Dubois and Gikomba markets took to the streets to protest against what they termed as invasion of the local market by foreign investors, and particularly the Chinese traders.
Kama mababu zetu wakenyamaza, asubuhi ya leo wewe ugeenda kwa shamba la kahawa ya mzungu. Nyinyi mtanyamaza, wa China wachukue kazi zetu.
The traders marched to the office of the Deputy President to demand protection of their markets, further urging the government to permanently shut down the famous Chinese retail shop China Square, which they say has hugely affected their businesses.
Sana ni hiyo China Square, hiyo yenye iko Thika Road. Yeye anakuwa wholesaler, retailer, distributor, yani anafanya na hoka. Anafanya kila kitu. Sasa akifanya hivyo, si tutafanya nini?
According to observers, however, the move by the government to edge out foreign investors could dent Kenya's relationship with Africa's top trading partner China and other countries too.
There ought to be some clear and moderate way of dealing with foreigners, because ultimately it's going to affect our foreign relationship with our partners. And we have so many partners. And you know, the goodwill, the political goodwill of a country affects the economic and internal market.
They promised that they will run China out of this country and out of business. The timing of the China Square raid is also very indicative of a government that has gone wrong.
A clarion call has been made to the government to put up beneficial policies to local traders and to ensure that they are working not just for the trader but the consumer.
We are country ruled by the rule of law. So is there a policy? So and there are people who are paid to think about policy.
Once you make a finding that there are some goods that are counterfeit, at that point you can close. And you are justified after doing the investigation to even chase away the operators. But then you cannot close and then come out with the results of the investigation.
This comes as the government, through the Ministry of Trade, maintains that its doors are open to manufacturers of products from foreign countries and not to small-scale traders. Andrin Kilemi, TV47, Nairobi.
Moving on to other stories making headlines tonight, and Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kindiki Kithure has been ranked as the top-performing member of President William Ruto's cabinet during the first 100 days in office, according to a poll conducted by Infotrack. However, the same survey, which was conducted in 7 regions in Kenya, also revealed that 62% of Kenyans believe that the country is headed in the wrong direction.
The recent survey conducted by Infotrack has revealed that 62% of Kenyans believe that the country is heading in the wrong direction, while only 22% believe that it is headed in the right direction. However, 15% of those surveyed were unable to state their opinion on the matter. This survey identified the cost of living, unemployment, and insecurity as the key issues of concern for Kenyans.
73% mentioned high cost of living, followed by high taxation or high taxes imposed on people at 5%, unemployment at 5%, poor governance and bad politics 4% and 3%.
According to the Infotrack survey, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki has been ranked as the best-performing cabinet secretary. The survey, which sampled 2,149 adult Kenyans aged between 18 years and 55 years, identified Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu as the second best-performing cabinet secretary, while Sports CS Ababu Namwamba was ranked third among the best-performing CSs.
The first-ranked cabinet secretary with perceived performance is Professor Kindiki Kithure, followed by Ezekiel Machogu. Number 3 is Ababu Namwamba.
On the other hand, Mining CS Salim Vuria, Florence Bore of Labour, and Environment CS Soipan Tuya were ranked as the least performing cabinet secretaries in their first 100 days in office. 2 ministries have stood out in the survey after being rated as the best performing so far. The two are the Ministry of ICT and Digital Economy, which scored 54%, and Transport, Roads and Public Works rated at 50%. The Treasury Ministry and the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum were ranked as the least performing.
The government has performed, or the ministries has performed below average. The average score for the 22 ministries stands at a D steady.
Interestingly, the same poll shows different overall performance ratings for ministries from those of the ministers heading different ministries. Flora Limuki, TV 47.
Elsewhere, and former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i is once again the subject of an investigation by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission regarding the source of his wealth. In a letter dated Tuesday and addressed to the head of the civil service, Felix Koskei, the EACC requested access to the wealth declaration forms that Dr. Matiang'i submitted when he assumed the role of CS in 2013. Mike Agwongo provides further details on the matter.
Weeks after the Directorate of Criminal Investigation sought to know who exactly raided former Interior Secretary Fred Matiang'i's home, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has written to the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service Felix Koskei, seeking information regarding Matiang'i's declared wealth. In the letter, EACC is seeking key documents including initial and final wealth declaration records to aid in its investigations. The documents being sought by the anti-graft agency cover the 10-year period during which Matiang'i served in the former President Uhuru Kenyatta's cabinet. Part of the letter read, the Commission wishes to request for certified copies of Declaration of Income, Assets and Liabilities forms for years 2012 to 2022, including the initial and final declarations. In his 10-year spell in former President Uhuru Kenyatta's government, Matiang'i first served as Information and Communication CS from 2013 to 2015. He later served as Education, Science and Technology CS in November 2015 to January 2018, before he was moved to the Interior docket in 2017. The embattled CS, however, retained the Interior docket even when President Uhuru Kenyatta was re-elected in 2017. EACC has tasked Abdul Alo and Paul Mogwe to collect the documents aforementioned. The move comes weeks following an escalation of a tiff between the former cabinet secretary and the state that saw his lawyers obtain anticipatory bail, preempting his arrest. Mike Kagwongo, TV 47, Nairobi.
Moving on, the Kenya Revenue Authority, or the KRA, has suspended all tax relief payments with effect from February 25th this year. The improvement is part of the government's strategy to seal revenue leakage and enable KRA to mobilize more taxes towards the country's economic growth.
The taxman says the move to suspend the payment of tax reliefs allows the Investment Information and Credit Rating Agency the ability to audit and enhance the tax relief processes and procedures. The tax collector says the suspension of tax reliefs comes after concerns from taxpayers, paving way for the need to relook and restructure rules and procedures governing tax exemptions. Through a statement, Kenya Revenue Authority Board Chair Anthony Ng'ang'a says the current suspension and ongoing review of tax reliefs is also aimed at increasing the impact of tax expenditure on economic growth. This will be achieved through minimizing tax expenditure and aligning it with international best practices for better internal revenue. ICRA says the enhancement of the tax relief processes and procedures will offer permissible issuance of tax exemptions. Further, it will also ensure equitable processing of tax reliefs. The move is also part of the aggressive revenue mobilization plan aimed at enhancing revenue collection and redirecting resources to finance priority growth supporting programs. In a statement, the KRA board chair says this move is aimed at powering the bottom-up economic transformation agenda in addition to enhancing trust and facilitation. ICRA remains committed to provision of excellent customer service to taxpayers. The authority will continue working closely with taxpayers to resolve arising issues for ease of tax compliance. Collins Lusweti, TV 47, Nairobi.
Moving on, Prime Cabinet Secretary, that is Musalia Mudavadi, has been granted more powers, tasking him with overseeing performance management across all ministries, state departments and state agencies in a dispatch sent by the Executive Office of the President. Now, the move comes as a result of the review of the financial year 2021-2022 performance. The Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary is now set to assist the President and the Deputy President in the coordination and supervision of government ministries and state departments, to chair, coordinate the national government legislative agenda across all ministries and state departments in consultation with the party leaders in Parliament, to oversee the implementation of national government policies and chairing the principal secretaries' committees evaluating projects and performing any other tasks assigned by the President. Kenya Kwanza legislators have defended President William Ruto's final supplementary budget estimate, stating that the budget is in line with the Kenya Kwanza manifesto and its plan. However, Azimio legislators have questioned the high estimates, terming them as too ambitious and suggesting that the government wants Kenyans to live beyond their means. The budget was passed at a time when the president is looking forward to creating the office of the opposition and implementing the two-thirds gender rule, which is yet to be anchored under the Constitution.
We are overspending as a nation, that we are overspending money that we don't have. And we are continuing. Mr. Speaker, remember, the president said that expenditure is going to be cut by 300 billion in the budget of 2022-2023. Mr. Speaker, Kenyans expected to see a reduction through supplementary budget of 300 billion. The question I want to ask today is, do we have a budget cut of 300 billion? The answer is no. If the budget you passed last year had a budget deficit of 860, you have paid over 280 billion shillings outside of the budget. It tells you your deficit had moved to above 1 trillion shillings, irresponsibly done in the wee hours of the last regime. Therefore, the reduction of 300 billion in these books, and the chair of the budget committee is here, he can confirm it is a fact that this budget has been cut by over 300 billion shillings. Why not for the bad manners of the 223 payments that now John Buddy wants to belittle and say it is talk? It is not just talk. Figures are speaking here. And therefore, let us not defend the indefensible.
This unit, NMS, is taking up close to 13 billion in this budget that we are talking about in the office of the president, Mr. Speaker. So even as we are critiquing the expenditure in the office of the president, we've got to remind ourselves of the curious situation that we got ourselves when the previous government was not able to meet its obligations of the Big Four. They were not able to live up to the Vision 2030, and they devolved their functions all the way down to the work of putting up cabros in this city, Mr. Speaker.
We have money that is allocated to Kenya Airways. As a country, we need to make a decision that if this company called Kenya Airways cannot operate on themselves, cannot make a profit, then we get rid of it. We do not need this national airline and have this country continue to bleed every year.
Subsidies have to be reintroduced as we look for a long-term solution. Not just pandering to the whims of IMF and World Bank, like a banana republic. Kenya is not a banana republic to be dictated to by foreign entities.
To the main headache facing a section of Kenyans now in the North Rift region of the country has been plagued with insecurity for decades. And a motivating factor for cattle rustling in the area is need to acquire cattle heads to pay dowry, which ranges from 30 to 50 heads of cattle. Now, this is according to a report released by the Bonn International Center for Conflict Studies in Germany. The report also indicates that more than 60% of the people living in the area have been affected by insecurity, with AK-47 rifles being the commonly used firearm by the bandits. Moige William has more details on that report.
As the joint operation by the National Police Service and the Kenya Defence Forces enters its 11th day to restore a sense of security in the banditry-prone zones of the North Rift region, a report has been released that aims to assist both residents and the government in finding a permanent solution to the insecurity issue. The report highlights certain traditional practices in the area that are hindering the restoration of security in the region. The Ministry of Interior gazetted counties of Samburu, Baringo, Laikipia, Turkana, West Pokot and Elgeyo Marakwet as disturbed and dangerous. Despite the ongoing joint operation, the researchers have cautioned the government that rely solely on boots and guns may not be enough to silence the guns of the North Rift region. They advocate for social empowerment, as poverty is identified as another motivating factor behind the crime in the area.
Through such findings, we can begin to inform policy. We can begin to partner with government in terms of addressing some of these important challenges.
But if you want to fight small arms, I think you have to take the society into consideration. It's very much about the social change of the overall society. Just this armament will not work.
In a survey conducted last year majorly focusing on West Pokot, which neighbors a number of the affected counties, 60% of residents decried of being affected by insecurity, with 50% of those engaged in the survey noting that their safety is not guaranteed.
We think just to collect arms will not be enough, and we need a much broader solution for the North, which has a lot to do with poverty. This is what we found out, that poverty is the major issue. The same is true for youth. I think we know that most of the gun holders are coming from the youth, so there's a lot to do with youth culture and unemployment in the youth.
The report indicates that at least 21% of the population in the North Rift region own guns. This is attributed to a number of reasons, including personal protection and securing their livestock from the frequent raids by ruthless bandits in the area. The most owned gun is the AK-47, which costs between 100,000 to 150,000 Kenya shillings, and which is acquired through an exchange of cows for guns.
Why do people demand arms? People demand arms to protect their livestock. So how would you control the issue of the arms? Just protect their livestock and then they will not need the arms. So I think it's a root cause solution by just tackling the problem of protection.
Politicians in the area were also named as facilitators of ownership of illegal guns, but mainly for their own political mileage. The aspect of culture and tradition is also a motivating factor of insecurity with the youth involved in cattle rustling so as to settle dowry payments, which over the years have gone up from 20 heads of cattle to 30 or even 60 heads of cattle.
It's still asked out of people to provide the dowry in terms of cattle, and at the same time there are very high poverty levels in the county. So how would you expect them to bring this cattle? Their only solution would be to enjoy cattle raiding or rustling to be able to marry and live a normal life. So it's the problem comes from the roots of the problem.
Amid the ongoing security operation in the North Rift region, security stakeholders have called on the government to include social empowerment in a bid to restore sense of security in the region. Mwege William, TV 47.
Elsewhere, the Teacher Service Commission, or the TSC, now says it needs additional funds in its 2023 budget so that it can facilitate promotion of teachers, teacher performance development programs, and review of the 2021-2025 collective bargaining agreement on teachers' salaries, among others. And as our senior education reporter Sharon Baranga now tells us, TSC has put out a request for the additional funds to the Parliamentary Committee on Education for consideration.
For years now, the Teacher Service Commission has been receiving several requests from teachers and teachers' unions on promotion of teachers who have stagnated in the same job group over the years. The requests include those from teachers who have attained higher qualifications and are yet to be promoted. The teacher employer now says they have not had funds to promote the teachers since the implementation of the 2021-2025 collective bargaining agreement. Consequently, TSC presented a request to the Parliamentary Committee on Education, appealing for their support to get the funds from the National Treasury in the 2023 budget. In promotion of teachers, TSC says it needs 2.2 billion shillings to carry out the promotion of teachers in different cadres. On teacher professional development programs, the teachers' employer needs 2.1 billion shillings. Another 300 million shillings will be needed for field services. An estimated 350 million shillings will go to upgrading of TSC systems to further improve automation and digitization linkages of its services and review salaries of teachers, which will need 14 billion shillings per year for 4 years.
To also say that I have listened to all our partners and thank you, our social partners, the unions, for reminding us that when we also give you more work, you need more pay. I expected it, but thank you.
Already TSC has started feeling the heat from a number of legislators who are complaining that the teachers employed and deployed for junior secondary schools are not enough. If more teachers are to be employed, then the TSC's budget will have to be adjusted upwards. Sharon Baranga, TV 47.
Moving on, 3 people have died and 6 others seriously injured in a grisly road accident along the Nakuru-Narok Highway. Confirming the incident, Narok Central Police Commandant John Momanyi said the accident occurred after the back tires of a matatu burst, causing the vehicle to lose control. The driver of the matatu is among the people who are believed to have died on the spot.
According to the commandant of Narok Central Police, John Momanyi, the accident was reported to have happened as a result of the bursting of the back tires of a matatu, which led to the loss of control of the vehicle.
Unfortunately, we lost 3 passengers and the driver of the vehicle. 6 injuries, whereby 3 people were seriously injured, and the other 3 were slightly injured.
Momanyi, who confirmed the incident, is now cautioning drivers against ignoring traffic rules, saying that it is among the leading causes of road accidents in the country. He has also urged traffic police to be vigilant on the road and ensure they arrest motorists with unroadworthy vehicles.
Opportunity to caution our drivers that they must ensure that they observe safety rules. Equally to the owners of the vehicles, they must ensure that their vehicles are properly serviced so that we can avoid some of these unfortunate incidences.
Bodies of the deceased were taken to Narok County Referral Hospital mortuary, with those who were injured being admitted to the same hospital. Zainab Mohammed, T47.
Elsewhere, a police constable named Julius Marwa, who was stationed at the Makupa police station, was allegedly killed in a tragic incident while on duty at the Buxton Junction in Mombasa. He was attempting to stop a motorist for a traffic check, but the driver is said to have defied his order and fatally injured the officer. Despite receiving prompt medical attention, the officer succumbed to his injuries soon after the accident. Now, the suspect was later apprehended in a basement parking lot in an estate and will be facing charges in court.
This footage taken by an eyewitness shows a police officer from a Makopa police station trying to rescue himself from the hands of a motorist who was getting hold of his hand while driving off, leaving the officer's feet dragging on the tarmac for at least 200 meters.
On reaching near Shah Hospital, the officer was dropped down on the tarmac and hit his head on the tarmac together with the guardrails.
As he was later pronounced dead at the Jocham hospital, where he was rushed after the incident.
The motorist continued driving towards Nyali direction and went and hit the motor vehicle in one of the basement apartments within Nyali. The officers traced him and he was found in the basement parking, seated inside the motor vehicle with the doors locked.
The bereaved police constable Julius Marwa was on duty at the Buxton Junction, Mombasa, when he stopped this Toyota Ractis registration number KDD 986D for a traffic check. His family has cried foul about the incident, calling for justice for their relative who at the time of his death was serving the nation.
Kwa hivyo sisi tungeomba kama jamii haki itendeke katika familia yetu, ili mke wake apate haki yake na watoto wake, kwa sababu already ameacha wajane ambaye hawana na nyuma na mbele, hakuna wa kuwasomesha. Wale wako university hakuna mtu wa kuwasomesha, na wale wanaingia, kuna mmoja anaingia mwaka university alifanya form 4 na yeye pia hana, na kuna mwingine pia kwa nyuma yake.
Kwa hivyo yule bwana alikuwa na nia ya kuua. Hivyo ndivyo naweza sema, ni katili. Na naomba haki itendeke.
Human rights activists have also come in solidarity with the family, urging motorists to obey traffic rules and respect officers on duty.
Tunajua Wakenya wengi sana wako na shida za mental health, especially masuala ya uchumi, masuala ya ajira na masuala mingi. Lakini hiyo bado sio sababu ya kufanya uchukue hatua ya kumuua traffic police officer ambaye alikuwa kazini. Ilingekuwa labda angesimama akajua ni makosa gani amefanywa na akapelekwa police station kama kunayo makosa.
Haki za binadamu zinaenda mpaka kwa mapolisi. Ikiwa polisi amekusimamisha na hajajihami na jambo lolote, hana bunduki, hana kitu chochote cha kukutishia maisha, sidhani kama kuna sababu ya wewe kumdhuru kiasi cha kuwa mpaka uondoe maisha yake.
A post-mortem will be conducted tomorrow while the suspect remains in custody. The officer has left behind a widow and 4 kids. Paul Muniu, TV47, Mombasa.
Elsewhere, the country is currently experiencing a severe water shortage due to the prolonged devastating drought situation, which has been exacerbated by the high rising population. However, the situation has led to tension in some parts of the country, causing demonstrations even as religious leaders continue to pray for rain.
due to the prolonged climatic change, certain areas such as part of Nyanza have already begun to experience rainfall. However, in some parts of the country, tension have risen as much needed rain is yet to arrive. This has led to prayer sessions for rainfall and demonstration for access to water. In Embu County, the tension seemed much higher as angry residents of Mbeere South, Embu County, blocked Governor Cecile Mbarire's motorcade demanding a resolution to the water crisis that has affected the vast semi-arid Mbeere region.
Kangondo tuko na tabu nyingi sana ya maji. Sababu naona hii damu, mniona hivyo, ilikuwa ina njaa. Na ile mifugo suko nayo yani natumia sana.
Governor Mbarire, who was on an official tour to launch 2 earth dams, had to address residents who had defied the police to open the road.
Na vile ningetaka kusema ni kwamba hii ndio mwenendo wetu kuendelea mbele. Tutaendelea kuweka pesa katika earth dams kwa sababu tumeona harvesting of water is the way to go going forward. Pia ningetaka kusema tumeshirikiana na Mheshimiwa William Ruto ambaye amekubali kwamba tutafute binu za kuhakikisha tumeweza kutumia maji ile iko kwa dams zile ziko karibu na sisi, Masinga Dam, Getaru, Kindaruma and Kiambere, tuweze kuweka hiyo maji kwa mlima juu iweze kuteremka kwa mwananchi by gravity.
In Kiambu County, the Agikuyu Central Group known as Kiama, led by their national chairman Ndungu wa Gaithuma, engaged in a 4-day prayer ritual in Diakani Dam, where the elders performed rituals to appease the ancestors.
Kutoka tarehe 21 mwezi huu wa pili, tumekuwa hapa Dakaine ambaye maji yale yanatumika Nairobi yanatoka Dakaine Dam. Na tumejionea maji imerudi chini sana, na tunajua Nairobi hata watu wamepata shida ya maji, na hii shida inatokana na ukosefu wa mvua. Kwa hivyo tumekuja maombi, tuombe Mwenyezi Mungu atupe mvua na mvua ya kutosha.
The elders urged farmers to start preparing their lands in preparation for the planting season and also plant environmental friendly trees to attract rains.
Watu wote katika nchi yetu ya Kenya wajitayarishe kwa maombi hii tulianza, na waendelee kutayarisha mashamba yao, kuanza kutafuta mbegu kama vile wanafanyaga kila mwaka msimu wa mvua ukianza.
Norbert Oduor, TV 47.
All right, at 9:30, we want to take a very short break right here on TV 47 News Tonight. Plenty more ahead on the other side, and you want to stick around for that.
As you enter a new phase of life, you may seem lost until you discover the passion within.
I'm happy that MKU decided to open a branch in Malindi to make work easier for those parents who have never been away from their kids or children.
That's all the equipment that I need to study and all the facilities that I need.
Simply one of the most beautiful and ultra-modern structure.
Join us at Mount Kenya University and Equip Africa Institute Malindi Odell Center to build your future. Intake in April for electronic learning and May for distance learning. Mount Kenya University.
Unlocking infinite possibilities.
Karibuni.
Mount Kenya.
Kaluma King Herbal Lozenges zinazo nguvu maradufu kutuliza kikohozi, vidonda vya koo na mafua. Kaluma King ni shwari.
Chika mama huyo muharifu kaiba kuku zangu, vifaranga wangu na mayai zote pia kabeba. Chika mama huyo.
Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
Tricent School of Medical Health Science and Technology is a premier training institute for market-driven courses. With state-of-the-art facilities, competent and dedicated members of staff, and linkages with the medical industry, you are assured of a bright future when you study with us. Enroll today in our campuses at Juja, Nairobi West, Kisumu, and Homa Bay.
If Tekra was 100%, I used to just breathe in 5% of her brain, because she was so smart.
You to God, but you do your part, you fight justice.
Mystery of floating bodies in River Yala continues to deepen after 7 more bodies were retrieved from the river.
Nobody had that right to take that life.
It's a bad feeling. Terrible.
When we got to court, we noticed a lot of surveillance on our team.
Nikiwafikiria ama nione picha zao, mimi nalianga usiku mzima. Hata kama vijana wangu watarudi, lakini sitawasahau.
This is the last door.
Authentic, natural, planned. Transforming. Endless benefits. Lady, purely Kenyan. Buy now on Jumia or Amazon.
Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with TV47 News Tonight. A Form 3 student at the St. Mark Bukiri Mixed Secondary School in Funyula, that is in Busia County, lost his life while swimming in the Matinga Dam. The student had accompanied 2 of his friends to the dam after they had been sent away from school to have their hair cut short. Of course, while confirming the tragic incident, Rumbia Sub-Location Sub-Chief Winslaus Ochara warned residents from swimming in the dam, saying that it was dangerous considering the long distance lifesavers have to cover before arriving in the area. To further afield now, and as 18 candidates line up to succeed President Muhammadu Buhari in Nigeria's 2023 general elections, the elections are still marred with controversy as 3 parties from the opposition demand for the scrapping of the tallying processes, describing it as a sham. In the released poll results, All Progressive Congress presidential candidate Bola Tinubu is taking an early lead as INEC's call for peace and patience.
As the presidential election results continue to trickle down in some of the 36 states of Nigeria, the country's main opposition parties, People's Democratic Party, the Labour Party and the African Democratic Congress want a fresh election to be held, arguing that the results have been manipulated, leaving the poll compromised. On Tuesday evening, tens of protesters camped outside Nigeria's main tallying center in Abuja, with some showing their support for Nigeria's electoral body and others denouncing INEC for allegedly running an untransparent election.
Election in Nigeria has been conducted with none. Very correct. This is the election that defied every nuances, every iota of allegation of money. So if Nigeria went out to do that much, to expend themselves this much, I think the process was simply. And I want to tell you, well-meaning Nigerians across the length and breadth of this country have come out to say, complete this process.
In the latest polls, the ruling party candidate Bola Tinubu is taking an early lead, garnering 44%, followed by main opposition candidate Atiku Abubakar with 33%, and Labour Party's candidate Peter Obi with 17% in the official results released from 14 of the 36 states. Peter Obi is, however, leading in the capital Abuja, garnering 281,717 votes, followed by the ruling APC candidate Bola Tinubu, who has garnered 90,902 votes, as opposition Atiku Abubakar came in third place with 74,199 votes. INEC Chair Mahmoud Yakubu has since dismissed the opposition's dismissal for the results, further stating that the results will be declared as planned. Former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is the head of the Africa Union Observer Mission in the Nigeria polls, has called on Nigerians to be patient and uphold peace as they await the final results. For a presidential candidate to be declared a winner in Nigeria, he or she needs a majority of 25% of votes in at least 2/3 of Nigeria's 36 states and the capital Abuja. Nearly the 90 million Nigerians eligible to vote are now anxiously waiting for the Independent National Electoral Commission to officially declare the results.
Moving on, the Senate County Public Accounts Committee has demanded that the anti-graft agency, that is the EACC, to open investigations into potential loss of about 110 million Kenya shillings in unremitted liquor licenses in Homa Bay County during ex-Governor Cyprian Awiti's administration. The Senate County Public Accounts Committee also wants officers found culpable of the embezzlement by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to face prosecution. The development followed revelations before the Homa Bay Senator Moses Kajwang-led committee, where the county executive could not adequately explain why it constantly reported nil revenue returns from liquor licenses, fees, and failing to prepare and remit financial statements from liquor fees for 6 years, starting from the financial year ending June 30th, 2016.
A to E listed there, and I'd like to state that previously the records were not provided for the liquor license, and that's why there was nil reporting. We have since provided the financial statements for 2021, 2022. I look at the bank statements, also shows that there was money that was getting into the accounts and there was money that was coming out of the accounts in cash. So that is some of the things that we are also looking at the moment. But as I've stated, we have since streamlined this, and just since January this year, we have in the liquor fund account over 800,000 just for the short period since January.
In Homa Bay County Executive and Assembly, and a report was handed over. And I think some of the issues in the report were the funds, including the car loan and mortgage funds, in terms of how they were established, the act and the regulations in terms of how they're supposed to be managed. Some of those things were not in place. And in a system review, we analyze the systems of a county government or government entity with a view of identifying any policy gaps, corruption loopholes, weaknesses, inefficiencies, and give the issues, the findings, and recommendations. However, to date, from Homa Bay County, as EACC, we have not received the implementation matrix of that report.
This perception that Parliament cannot erect EACC,
And on charter, I think you clarified it, that EACC is a creation of Parliament.
Not of the Constitution.
Not of the Constitution.
Yeah.
So Parliament can direct the EACC. So we are directing EACC to carry out an investigation into the unremitted alcoholic liquor licensing fees in Homa Bay over 6 years. The only thing we cannot direct you is to prosecute, because that's a job of the DPP. Unless, Governor, you had already instituted some measures.
Elsewhere in Parliament is set to approve or reject President William Ruto's 7 appointees to the selection panel meant to pick new IEBC commissioners. This is after the President unveiled the new lineup on Monday, which has now been opposed by the Azimio coalition, accusing the President of reinventing the wheel. Azimio has maintained its hardline stance, telling President Ruto to brace for demonstrations, as Apollo Kamau now tells us.
President William Ruto's move to appoint the 7-member IEBC selection panel on Monday has formally kicked off the process of picking new IEBC commissioners, subject to Parliament's approval. Among the 7 gazetted nominees, Bethel Sugut and Euralia Atieno will represent the Parliamentary Service Commission, Charity Kisotu, who is the Vice Chair of the Public Service Commission, Evans Misati, representing the Political Parties Liaison Committee, Benson Ngugi, representing the Law Society of Kenya, Dr. Nelson Makanda and Fatuma Saman, serving as Interreligious Council representatives. The gazettement of the nominees has dampened Azimio's hopes of reaching a deal to form a bipartisan team after the President set the ball rolling on the formation of the new polls team, charged with the mandate of overseeing the delimitation of electoral boundaries in the 2027 poll.
There was a hurry to try and replace Chebukati with Chebukati. Chebukati has replaced himself. And the reason why Chebukati has replaced himself is so that we can have a commission that was controlled on behalf of the current president, just like Chebukati.
In the last election, if Ruto had 3 Chebukatis, now he wants to have 7 Chebukatis. What do you expect? So definitely it would be disastrous. So we have to fight that.
Kenya Kwanza, which enjoys a majority in the bicameral parliament, has ruled out talks and a recourse on the process of selecting IEBC commissioners.
But for now, there's a water under the bridge. I want Kenyans to get used to the noise from Azimio. I wish they're making noise whereby we can be able to ventilate on issues. But you cannot keep on ventilating on issues which has been ventilated by the court, being ventilated by the parliament, and they are now being implemented. It's just hot air once again.
President William Ruto's decision to dismiss one of Azimio's irreducible minimums at Jivanji Gardens that wanted the process stopped means the opposition will hit the streets to see if the president caves into pressure.
And we are going to stop singing soon and we'll start swinging. So we'll just follow our program, and after 14 days, now I think 8 days remaining, then you'll just see people swinging.
They may have the ability to pass through things through the house, but there is a court of public opinion. That court of public opinion, we will fight the battles in the house, and if we are not able to win in the house to overturn whatever that selection panel list, we will go back to the people.
Nataka kumshauri mkongwe Raila Odinga ya kwamba kila kitu itafanywa na serikali kulingana na sheria. Kama anataka ibadilike, ako na wabunge huku ndani ya bunge yetu, ako na mikakati ambaye anaweza tumia kuleta zile zinaitwa changes ambazo anafikiria ni better ideas.
To Kenya Kwanza, the train has already taken off as far as the reconstitution of IEBC is concerned. But to Azimio, it's a case of who blinks first amid hardening positions. Apul Kamau, TV47 at Parliament Buildings.
To news now making headlines in the business front, and the Global Carbon Hub, in collaboration with the government, has culminated a 2-day workshop in a bid to reduce emissions of carbon dioxide. The Climate Action Plan for Africa founder James Mwangi said the world needs to remove 5 to 10 billion tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere every year for it to win the war against climate change. Now, this comes at a time when Treasury has issued a draft national green fiscal incentives policy to the public that seeks to tax every carbon ton emitted in the bid to reduce emissions. The First Lady, through a statement read by Tourism Cabinet Secretary Penina Malonza, say the carbon removal initiative needs to be considered through the principles of equity and inclusivity, as women are key in the fight.
Is a multi-billion-dollar opportunity and should be a replicate that current economy model that does not benefit women. This might include developing new carbon markets mechanisms that are specifically designed to support small-scale projects led by women, or establishing policies and programs that incentivize companies to invest in women-led projects. This recognition must by design include real investments and economic benefits.
The planet is to avoid climate catastrophe. Africa has to take the lead. And the reason I think that we have that opportunity is we have three things that are distinctly part of the African value proposition. The first is our young, dynamic, and growing population. If you have a big task to do, you need a big army to do that task. And it so happens that we have been gifted by the planet's biggest army for the 21st century. The second thing we have is we have ample land and natural resources. We are an exporter of raw materials today. And the third thing is
It is at this time now we get to go straight into the world of sports, and my colleague Dennis Otieno has now joined us in the studio to steer us through that ship. Dennis, good evening. Good to see you. What should we expect in the world of sports tonight?
Good evening to Kenneth Kazungu. Good to see you too also. Now, it is a lot that we've lined up for you in the world of sports. We will be telling you about the big financial boost that the Football Kenya Federation has got from a major stakeholder in ways to upgrade matters football in the country. We shall also be telling you about the FA Cup. 8 matches, to be precise, are going to be played tonight. We'll be telling you which teams will come up against which ones. Also, there was the NBA that was getting played. We'll be telling you the result of each and every game that took part in the NBA. Also, a number of the AFCON under-20 competition. We'll be telling you about that. But Kenneth, I don't know if you've been following football. I'd really be interested to getting to know the club that you support in English football.
I'm not a very big football guy, but I have come up to know that I do not really like Arsenal. So I think that makes me a Manchester United fan. Yeah. That's amazing, and for some good reason. Most of the people that I've actually been interacting with lately, tending to lean towards the Manchester United side. Probably it's because they're registering good results of late. I mean, of course, we'll also be telling you some news about Manchester United tonight in the news, or rather in the sports news. Of course, that among many other sports stories that we've lined up for you. Now, with that said, a very warm welcome to Primetime Sports. My name is Dennis Otieno. Now, let's start off with matters football. Now, the Kenyan top-tier football players earlier today got every reason to smile after the Football Kenya Federation entered a partnership deal with online gaming firm MozartBet. In a deal that will see the company sponsoring the FKF tournament to a tune of 60 million shillings. The deal is a major reprieve to most Kenyan football clubs that had struggled with financial constraints that will now have everything to play for in the tournament. Now, in order to win the hefty cash reward, now reports indicate that the winner will pocket 2 million shillings, while the second, third and fourth place teams will earn a cash reward of 1,750,000 and 500,000 shillings respectively. Speaking during the unveiling of the partnership deal, MozartBet country manager Sasha Krenta emphasized the company's commitment in supporting sports in the country, while FKF CEO Barry Otieno expressed his gratitude for the support.
Because we committed ourselves that we will help our sports, our community, our various initiatives, as well as our corporate social responsibilities. So basically, we are here to help the Kenyan communities, and I hope this will continue. And I want to invite all corporates to join in this journey to help Kenyan sports.
Today we speak about Mozart and say thank you to Mozart. Of course, negotiations are ongoing with other partners to ensure that all FKF assets then attract commercial values. But as we've said on numerous occasions, the Federation alone cannot do this. We need you, your support, the media.